Hello and welcome back to Airdrie Public Library Virtual Programming. So as you know, circles are one of the coolest shapes out there, and today we are going to look at what happens if you give them teeth. That's right, I'm talking about gears. So if you have a bike, you may have played around with the gear shift and found that when you're on a low gear, it's easy to pedal, but you don't go very fast. And when you shift up to a high gear, it gets hard to pedal, but you can have a lot more speed out of it. This is because of something called gear ratio, or how many teeth one gear has over the one next to it. So let's see this in action. I have a little wheel here, and we're going to just fit our first gear onto here. So let's say you are on the first gear of your bike. That's what this is probably like. So every time this turns around, this gear makes the same rotation. That's pretty simple. But now we're going to throw in a second gear into it. So now this big gear goes into this smaller gear, and it turns this gear over here. So with both of these, this little red piece here taped up, and watch this piece here as it goes around. I'm going to spin this around exactly once. And we can see that this one has gone around more than this original one. And this is because of that gear ratio. This big gear up here has 40 teeth on it. This one only has 24. So that means that for this gear to go all the way around this one, it's got to turn a lot more than this gear has to go all the way around this one. And this effect can be compounded. So let's see what happens if we add another gear onto it. So now this big gear turns this small one, which is on the same axle as this big gear, which then turns this small one. So now I'm going to turn this wheel all the way around once, and we're going to watch what happens to this. Ready? We saw that one go around once, twice, and almost 3 times in the time that this wheel had spun once. We're going to take it another step further. Alright, so now we have 3 stages to this. Alright, let's watch this black piece now. As I turn this all the way around once, it's starting to move a lot faster. So let's count how many times this black piece goes around when I spin this one around once. So it's going once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, about 4.5, maybe 4 3/4. And I have one more gear to add onto here with another little wheel on it. Alright, so now let's watch this last wheel over here. As I spin this around once, we're going to see this one go a lot faster. Right? Look at that. This is basically how your bike works, but in the case of your bike, it has one really big gear and one really small gear. This is similar to a gearbox in a car with your transmission, because your engine can put out a lot of power and your wheels need to spin really fast. One thing to note, remember, is that as we add more of these gears, this first wheel gets really hard to turn. And the same thing works in reverse. This wheel is really easy to turn, but this wheel doesn't turn very much at all compared to how many rotations we're making with this turn. So let's look at a little bit of this math here. And we can find out exactly what the gear ratio is. So our big gear has 40 teeth on it. 40 teeth. And our small gear has 24. So we divide our big gear by our small gear and we get about 1.6. So let's look at that. We are going to look at this piece here and we're going to count how many times it rotates around in one period or one full rotation of this wheel. So it's starting about there, about flush, and I'm going to rotate it. It went around 1 and a little more than a half, about 1.6. So that's what this gear ratio is here. And since we have 1, 2, 3, 4 of these gears on here, we can times that 1.6 by itself. So we go 1.6 times 1.6 times 1.6 times 1.6, or 1.6 to the power of 4. And that is equal to 6.6. So let's take a look. I'm going to line these up and I'm going to start spinning it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A little more than 6. So yeah, we know this is our gear ratio here of all of these gears combined. Every one time we spin this around, this wheel is going to go around 6.6 times. I'd love to see any kind of cool vehicles you guys can make using this newfound knowledge of being able to turn your energy into fast rotating wheels. Thanks for tuning in. That was Airdrie Public Library.